Hey everybody! I'm never starting these on time, but here I am in my little decorated space, ready to do a live tonight using the painting kit. So I'm going to let a couple of people join the room. How you doing? Oh, I can't reach the phone tonight, so I won't be like punching wave at everyone, but I will say hi. We're going to be doing some live painting this evening, and I've even rigged up my laptop next to me with some of the slides from my lecture that I usually do all about colour theory. So we might do a little bit of colour theory. I'm certainly not going to give a lecture on it, but I thought it would be kind of cool to just kind of have the slides there to remind myself on some of it and share it with you guys, because if we're going to be doing painting, why not make it kind of like a bit academic as well. The lighting's really red on this. How you doing everybody? We've got quite a few of you in. Has anyone got their painting kit to work with tonight? Because this is the one that we're going to be using, and I'll take you through the contents of this actually. We were packing some of these up last week. In every Margate Girl kit you always get a little love letter from me, and this one has a load of encouraging bits at the front. I'm going to read this in a minute. And in this kit you also get 3 different designs to choose from to do your painting. Now this painting and this painting kit, it's a little bit like painting by numbers, which is why I've got this with me tonight. Check that out. This is a painting that I got in a junk shop, and it's actually a painting by numbers painting. And I love it. We're not going to do anything that complicated, but we are going to do a kind of like miniature version, and the approach I've taken is a bit like painting by numbers. I give you guys the design. We've got a nice leafy plant, house plant. We've all had a lot of those in lockdown, haven't we? Or we've got a sun. This is like a classic design that I have from years ago. Went on a load of tea towels and things like that. And then this one here is some oranges and lemons on some stripy fabric that I took a photo of and then painted this painting and turned it into the design. So we've got a bit of a mix of sort of still life paintings to choose from. They're all in the kit, and what you do is you use the carbon paper that's also supplied in the kit to kind of trace the design onto your little canvas that's in the kit as well. So I'll show you guys what else is inside. This is in the opening part of it. We've got those bits, and then let's tear this open. Every time I do a live I wreck a kit. It's like all packed and ready to go, and then I go, look inside. You get a little tiny pack of acrylics, and I specifically chose acrylics for this live for this kit because initially I was going to do oil paints, but they can be a real challenge for beginners if you haven't used oil paints before, or you don't do loads and loads of painting. You have to kind of like wash them out with white spirits. They're a solvent-based or an oil-based paint, and you can only get rid of them with solvents or water them down with solvents. And the way that you build the colours is really different to how you guys might be used to using paint. So you start with the deeper colours and you end with light, because usually the lightest part, you can see on me, the lightest part of my body is my forehead, my lovely big forehead, being exposed to the light, and the darkest parts are the parts that are furthest away, or in shadow basically. And with oil paints you kind of paint in that way. You start with the deeper, darker stuff and you build them up, and then you'll kind of like put the lighter ones on the top, being the light and the lit parts. And so you can apply oil paint, white oil paint, on top of dark colours, but you have to let them dry a little bit, and then it's a labour intensive process. And watercolour, acrylic, gouache, everything else that we work with is usually in reverse. So we'll start with the paleness of the page or the canvas and use that as a little bit of our whiteness, and then we'll build up the darker colours, and you'll usually sort of add shadows last. It's not very common to be able to paint something like white watercolour over the top of a black part of your design. So I decided to go with acrylics instead of oil paints, even though we nearly had oil paints for this kit, because they dry with a bit of a shine. They're quite thick and kind of viscous, so they're easy to use, and you can get some nice big like thick swipes on them and stuff like that. But also they are going to look a little bit like oils, which I sort of liked, and they mix together well, but you can wash them out with water and things like that. So if you spill any of these tonight, don't worry, just rinse off whatever whatever fabric you get it onto. And if you want to thin out any of the paints and make them easier to work with and more malleable, mix them with a tiny bit of water, because they're water-based paints. So you get a little set of paints in every kit. They're all sorts of, well, it's the rainbow really. And these are very sort of traditional colours. We've got titanium white, this is what artist paints are usually called, yellow ochre or ochre, anyone let me know how you pronounce that, I've never known, red, burnt umber, emerald green, royal blue and lamp black. And these are the shades of paint that you normally hear in most kind of standard basic painting kits. So they're in the kit. You get your little canvas, there's tons in this kit, I love it. You get a little paint palette to work with to mix your paints in. You get some paint brushes. I supplied 3 in this kit, and anyone who's just joined the room, we're doing the painting kit at the moment. I'm just giving you guys a tour. These paint brushes, you get some nice sort of chisel heads and then one for more sharper detail there. Do what the makeup artists, makeup influencers do like that. And on the side of every one, it says keep smiling. You might be able to see that, but how cute. So all 3 of the paint brushes encourage you to keep smiling while you're painting. We don't have to grimace, but we do have to enjoy ourselves. That's the point of doing all this, isn't it? And then finally, at the bottom of the kit, you get your little piece of carbon paper. Carbon paper is a bit like a bit of paper that's had pencil rubbed all over it. And one side that's particularly darker than the other side is the side that all the carbon is on. And it's great for recreating things, which is why when you have a carbon copy of something, it's like the duplicate of it, because if you press this in between 2 things, like 2 pieces of paper or a piece of paper and a canvas, and then you make marks on your first piece of paper, the carbon is going to feel that impression and make a mark onto your second surface that you've got it laying on top of. So tonight, what we're going to do, and you guys, if you're working with your kit straight off, if you haven't started yet, and you're opening it up for the first time and giving it a go, what you're going to need to do is you take your canvas. I'm not going to use that because it's lovely and clean, and instead I'm going to use one that I got out of the box a bit grubby. Look, it's got a little mark on it, so this is my test one. So you take your canvas, you lay your carbon paper on top, and if I was you, I'd find the right angle and kind of press it up against it like that, because then you can use it as a bit of a guide, you know you're in the right place. And then I'm going to take the design that I want to work with tonight, which is this one. I'm going to cut, just like breathed in weirdly. I'm going to cut round, I haven't had a drink or anything, so I'm going to cut round, take this white border off with my pair of scissors. And then I'm going to use that right angle of the design there and push that up into the corner there. So I know this design is exactly the same size as this canvas, so I'm just going to cut away the extra. So if I do that quickly now, and you guys can do the same. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace this design using a pencil. We're essentially going to wreck it, but don't worry, that's what it's for. We're going to cut that away and use a pencil to trace the design onto the carbon paper and then further onto the canvas, all in one go. So sweet. So I've done a lot of these other designs on different lives, and I'll show you some of the outcomes. This was one, this is this one here, and I did this design, and this is what the one I'm doing tonight will look like when I've finished. Cool, huh? I like that, and I like the little dots that I've used as the shadow on the plant. Now, all of these designs, they're going to be used as your reference for colour as well, and it's up to you to mix those shades up. We're going to have a bit of a talk as I'm going about how to kind of achieve some of those colours, but there's no precision. Like you can test your colours against the piece of paper as you're going. So for this one, I might mix up some colours and then kind of dab it onto this to see, you know, what works. I will already ruined it with the pencil anyway. Dab a couple of colours on to see what works, mix them up on the palette. But It's really up to you what colours you use. I love the fact that these kits have got a bit of leverage for you guys to kind of make them your own. And if you want your plant to be pink and your walls to be green, that's fine. Like, do that. I think that's really cool. Chuck over there. And I think, you know, there we go. I'll plug it in a minute. Take ownership of it, enjoy it. Don't worry too much about being precise. It's about having fun and making something that's really exclusively you. So if you don't copy this exactly, that's totally fine. So I think, given that my battery's running low, we're going to move on to the overhead, so you can say bye to my lovely face. I'm going to do what I've never done before, which I'm kind of excited to see how smooth I can do this. I've got everything set up here in front of me, and I'm going to move my camera onto a bit of an overhead view. So check this out. Here's like my boom arm, which I use as my camera stand, and I'm going to pick the camera up and pop it there. Here we go. All ready? So you'll see me for a minute. And how many have you got in the room? Oh, hi guys. All right. Okay, let's get myself plugged in. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to do my tracing. Let's get this. There we go. Oh, cool. This is working. Yeah, I like that. Oh, and I've got to hand, by the way, some of the little decorations that I was making last night on a live I did with Turner Contemporary. Some of you guys will have joined in for that. And it was so much fun. We were making all of these really cool Christmas decorations and decorative charms using pressed tin, recycled materials, loads of screen printed paper. It's really cool. So although that was live and I've still got to load the video up, I'm going to be spending the weekend editing it, cutting it down. It was 2 hours long, so that's definitely not going up in one piece. But I'm really psyched about you guys seeing it because it was probably the most intensive and productive live I've ever done. So really, really looking forward to everyone seeing that, and you guys let me know what you think. Okay, so we're going to take our canvas, pop the carbon paper over the top of it. I've got a nice big bit here. Yours will be smaller. You don't need a very big bit at all. But you can use this stuff again and again and again. So even after you've done this, when your canvas is finished, what's my new ring look? Even when your canvas is used up, and if you're not in the mood to go buy any more, you can do this onto sort of thick cardstock or paper as well. And this carbon paper is going to be ideal for copying this design as many times as you like. It means you get to use the other ones in the kit as well. So I've made sure that my carbon paper is facing down, and that is to say that the darker side is facing downwards and the design is on this kind of like milkier side, grayer looking side. I'll pop that over the top, and I'm going to use a pencil. I'm going to put that in view because this is like what we're doing. You guys can see it. Oh, cute. I'm going to use a pencil to draw out the design. And I probably won't try and draw the whole thing at this point. If I were you guys, I would, because once you move this carbon paper, it's never going to be in the same place again, is it? So you probably don't want to lift it away once you've started drawing. But because I don't want to take time to draw the whole thing out, I'm keen to kind of get cracking and be a bit ahead of you so I can show you what I'm doing and you can kind of follow along. And an hour is never long enough anyway. I mean, I'm supposed to be like a bit of a pro at this stuff, and I'm always taking way longer than an hour to do these little crafts. And I think that's a good thing because you can get like really cool stuff achieved in probably about 2 hours or something like that. So as you could see from the start of the live, I never get a whole one done, even with this painting kit, in 1 hour, but we'll get started. But in that time, I think it'll be a bit of a waste to draw the whole picture, although I might manage it. Let's have a little look. You can see how quickly I'm doing it. Look, da, 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 da. And in a minute you'll see, although I'm just drawing over a design that's already there, you probably won't notice any impressions that you will. When up close you'll be able to see what you've drawn, but from a distance you won't even be able to see my pencil marks on this design. But when I peel it away, and let's just do a little check. Whoa, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. And actually you can see the bits that you've missed. A good little lesson in completing. There we go. So, and you can see I'm really roughly drawing these because I can kind of correct it afterwards. Or I can slightly change the shape of my design if I want to. It's often when I'm designing these kits, I'm always trying to remember to encourage everyone to not worry too much about outcomes and just enjoy themselves and do what they want to do and not worry too much about being precise. And because I have it in my head that like I sort of envisage somebody doing these designs and going off the mark or something and going, oh no, it's not right, it's not what Zoe did or whatever. Not because I think I'm all, you know, omnipresent and perfect, but if you're following a kit, maybe sometimes you feel a bit anxious if it doesn't quite look right or quite look similar to the design that's here. And I would say don't worry about that, because you can see here, I'm like scribble, scribble, scribble. Even when I'm making the designs for these kits, I'm kind of making it up, changing it up, moving it around, not worrying too much about things. So it's a good lesson to remember that you don't need to be like that either. Okay, so I'm going to anchor it with my finger there and just peel it back to double check. That's pretty good. I've missed one little bit there, look. Now in the instructions, I say to only do the outlines and not worry too much about the little details, because this carbon mark is going to be a bit of a challenge to, you can rub it off with a rubber because it's just like a pencil, but for the most part you want to be painting over it and you don't want loads of it to cover, because in each of these kits, all of these paints, they're a little bit translucent so that you can kind of layer up colours really easily. It's a really lovely aspect of the paints, but at the same time it means they're not super opaque. And so if I was to paint this white, the white's pretty good actually, but if I was to paint this white on top of the black, it would take a few coats. And so given that this carbon that we've just drawn, it's quite grey, that means that it will take quite a bit, you know, a couple of coats drying in between to cover it. So I try and do as little as possible. And also, if I'm covering this whole area here with this purple or whatever I choose to do, you won't be able to see those lines anyway. So there's not much point. If I cover all of this, I think I've done it now, so I'll pull it away. Oh, I didn't do that one there. If I cover all of this with the green, you won't be able to see where I've drawn the lines anyway. So you can very easily kind of like look across and go, oh, hang on, yeah, that's where that goes. So don't worry too much about getting every single mark to start with. You can see I've missed off these ones here. Yeah, just get the loose shape as a bit of an outline to begin with. And that's good, isn't it? Because it's less work for us to do, which I love. Okay, so I'm going to keep this to hand. Look how cool they are. Look, it's pretty close, right? Love it. If you're doing your box tonight, chuck the first purple emoji you come to on your emoji keyboard. Chuck that in the comments. I want to see if there is anyone taking part at the moment. I know the lovely Jodie picked a couple up for her boyfriend and her tonight, ready to use one of the Margate Girl kits for the first time. So we have a Margate Girl kit newbie in the room, hopefully, or at least at some point, which I think is super cool. So I'd love to hear if you're doing a kit tonight, or if you have done one of them before and you've got a favourite, I want to hear about that too. So chuck a comment in if you have tried out one of the kits or if you're using this one tonight. That's not to say that you can't just watch me do my painting as a bit of like Friday night therapy. It's all good. So I've got my paint kit, except I'm not going to open this one because I'll save that for someone else. I've got one that I've already opened here, and loads, because I've done so many of these live. I've got all the leftover ones as well. So I'm just going to work my way through these, cut into these. And also, because I keep using up all my white, because a lot of they use white more than anything, because you kind of mix it to make pastels and things like that. And that's going to run out first. So actually, I've ended up putting some household emulsion in 2 little palettes here for me to work with, because it just saves me opening up another kit that I won't use the rest of, because I've got hundreds of these at the studio for all my kits. So I'll put that to one side. Now I think I'm going to start with that really delicious green that I've got there. It's kind of a mix between it's quite a yellowy green, so I'm going to have a go at doing that one first. So for that, am I going to do, yeah, I think I will. I'm in the mood for doing the green first. And you know, there's no specific order that you have to do these in. Chuck a bit of green in there. Probably put a bit much in. And I'm going to start with the, let's see, the yellow ochre and the yellow look quite close in colour. I think I'm going to go with the yellow ochre because this green, although it is a, let's see if the colour changes at all. Although it is a strong green, it's a little bit dirty as well. It's almost like, it's not very acidic. It's kind of quite a warm green. All right. Let's pop that in the palette. Makes a lovely noise. Now I keep mine separate and then mix them together, but you're going to use your palette up a lot if you do that, which is okay. I've got some tissue paper next to me and a little cup of water as well, to kind of rinse my brushes off when I need to. And actually I haven't done any painting for a while, so I'm just kind of freestyling here. Now the brushes, I think I'm going to pick this nice one here. Yeah, it's got a nice like chisel end. There's a really monster one in there that you're probably only going to need for the really big areas, but I'm going to use this one instead of the tiny one to start with, just to see what it looks like. Okay, now because I've actually started with the green. Normally I'd make my green by mixing blue and yellow. Blue, yellow and red all being primary colours. Anything that they create when they mix together is called a secondary colour. Oh, do you know what? I might need some of that brighter green. This is actually coming out way too dull. Brighter yellow, I mean. There we go. But yeah, so I've started with a secondary colour, which is this green, straight from the tube, and then a primary colour, which is the yellow. Together, they make what's called a tertiary colour. So if you mix secondaries and primaries, you get that third level, which is like a tertiary. Now this is way off. If I was trying to match, I'd have to wait until it was dry. I think I'm going to need a bit of white in this. Yeah, that's too dark. So here we go. I'm going to add, I'm terrible. Like I always infiltrate my colours and get them dirtier than I need to. There we go. Oh, it's very yellow, this. Okay, I just kind of really love that. And this is the thing, I might actually just go with some of these colours, even if they don't match the card. Yeah, because of time, but actually because I just really like them. So, although there I've managed to get quite close. Typical. Don't you sometimes feel like the universe does that to you? Like as soon as I say, oh, actually, I think I'm going to mix a different green, then suddenly I get the green. And you're like, oh, lost it. Yeah, that's pretty close. Look at that. Damn it, I was going to really, really mix it up then. Quite literally. Okay. So now I'm going to follow my lines and just paint with them. So this is a bit like painting by numbers, except that I haven't matched a paint to a number or an area to a number. Instead, I'm just going within these guides. More like a kind of colouring in, but with paints. And actually I think I'm going to swap down to the smaller brush because there's sharper peaks on these that I'm not going to be able to manage with this chisel, I think. One of the things I really enjoy about creating, not just paintings or artwork, but using any kind of like creative tool like a paintbrush, is that, yes, of course, the tool that you choose to use is like really, really important to determine what the outcome's going to look like. But the way you use the tool can offer up so many different nuances to your outcome as well. So I wonder if I could show you the different ways that we could potentially use this brush. So of course you've got a bit of that, and then I could turn it and get some really thin lines, and I could probably put it on its top and get an even thinner one. Well, sort of thinner. And I really love that about equipment. Like I never expect that any tool is only ever going to give me one outcome. So I like to kind of experiment with the things I'm working with and see what I can get out of them. Cool. Just doing the brightness on this. So what is everyone up to this evening? Are you guys, I was about to say, are we all in? The likelihood is we are, for many reasons. Not just that we're in a global pandemic. But how has everyone's week been? Have you had a good one? Are you gearing up for Christmas? Are you ready for Christmas? I'm not. I've not bought a single thing for anyone that I'm getting presents for, so a bit of that has to go on in the next week, especially if anything's going to get posted. But yeah, let me know where you guys are in the UK, or if you're in from another country as well. I love a bit of that. I've got some incredible followers and subscription box users in places like, someone's in Hawaii. I don't think they're going to be on at the moment. I don't even know what the time is in Hawaii. But got some over in Canada, in Holland. Really cool. And then all over the UK. I actually you guys know, if you get the subscription boxes, that I hand write the labels, which most of the people that know me think is just insane. But I love it because I kind of feel like I travel the UK and the world when I'm writing all these little destinations and stuff. And I do have, this is going to make me sound so weird, but I have a little think about what that must be like in that place, or, what they're like, the person that lives there, or what their street must look like, or their front door. And I have all these lovely little thoughts about where everyone's living when I'm writing them down, which is super cute. And there's some incredible addresses as well. I've totally painted over there, sorry. I was just apologising to myself. Don't you love that? But testament again to making it as you as you like and going as wrong as you like. I've totally painted over some of my gaps there, but I don't care. This is cool. This is so therapeutic. Yeah, bit of painting. And you get whole accounts, ASMR accounts, where you can just watch people do things like bake a cake or something overhead. It's really cool. Calms you down to kind of watch the process. And you can sort of half feel like you've done it yourself as well then. Okay, so about 40 minutes into a 1 hour tutorial and I've done one paint colour so far. That's good. I might share a bit of that colour theory with you guys while we're painting. So we've talked about the primaries, which is when you mix red. Let's get some of them out. If you're mixing together red, blue or yellow, that's you working with primary colours. We could even do a bit of a colour wheel. Could we? Oh no, I don't have a purple. If you have those three colours, these are your primaries. And if you mix these together, the colours that you get in between them, they're the secondary colours. And the colours that you get when you mix a secondary and a primary, any really strongly neighbouring colours, is a tertiary colour, like the one I've got here. And you have things, you can separate your colours into warm colours or cool colours. And they're actually more self-explanatory than you'd think, because warm colours tend to be reds and yellows, anything that is stereotypically similar to things like light or sunshine or fire, any of those kind of like heat sources out in the world and in the universe, that denotes a warm colour. And then cool colours are the ones that are on the other half of the colour wheel or the spectrum. So that will be colours that are actually more similar to things like ice and water. And so that's your blues, some greens, sometimes even some yellows, in that like a yellow that will just be really, really, really greeny. That will be a cool yellow. So anything that's sort of similar to water or ice or anything cold, you know how they usually are blue. That's a good way of remembering that. And what else do I share with the students? Oh yeah, all the different ways that you can get, just starting with your three colours, which I think is so cool. You've got your primaries. You can mix them to get your secondaries, and you can mix them together again to get your tertiary colours. And in the colour wheel, it kind of goes around, and you've got all these colours blending together. It's almost like a big circular rainbow. And then what you can do is you can stretch those colours around, just like I did here, by mixing white, black, or white and black, which is essentially grey, in with your hue. Now the hue is the pure colour. The hue is essentially what I was starting with here. Green can be a hue, yellow would be a hue. And if you mix white with your hue, just like I did, you get what's known as a tint. And if I was to mix black with my hue, I would have what's known as a shade. I might do a bit of that in a minute. And then if I was to mix white and black, so essentially grey, in with my hue, which is my solid colour that I started with, I would have a tone. So adding white creates a tint, and that's kind of similar to having a pastel shade. Adding white and black to it makes a tone, which is kind of like muddying it with a grey. And adding just black to your hue, like a green, would make a shade. And the differences can be really dramatic. I always find that adding that grey kind of knocks a colour back. So you'd have like, if you started with a yellow and then you added grey, you'd end up with a kind of like mustardy shade or something, a kind of dirty yellow. And whereas if you were to add white to that yellow, you'd get a kind of like pale daffodil colour or really pale lemon colour, and it would be a lovely pastel. So starting with those original hues, you can make them really different. And it's kind of exciting to think just how many colours you can have and the scope of a potential palette of colours from just those three primaries. And I learnt so much about this stuff, not only when I was at university and kind of mixing up colours in the dye lab, because I studied textile design, but also just from doing kind of like the physical research of mixing colours for my work, made me recognise like how much you can manipulate just those three primaries into having all sorts of colours. And then when I taught it recently in some sort of colour theory lectures I was giving, it was fascinating to show this as a demonstration to students. It was really exciting. Okay, so I've done my green now. We've got 45 minutes in and I've done one colour. This is a good start. Let's rinse this off. I might leave that in there and go with a smaller one. And I can show you now. Let's actually make... God, I love that I'm sharing this with you guys. Let's actually make a... let's make a shade. So I've got my... Just stick a bit of water on the end of that. I've got my pastel colour here, my tint, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of black to see if I can get myself, and I might need to add a bit of blue as well, to get myself closer to this shade of that hue. So I should probably start with the original colour again, because if you start messing around with something that you've mixed up... Oh, I need to open that. Let's just grab an open one. If I was to add black to this, I'm essentially still adding grey because I've already put white in it to start with. So instead what I'm going to do is go back to my original colour, which was the yellow, although it's a different yellow. Those of you that have been in the room a while, was the yellow ochre. I've now just gone for the bright yellow because I feel like that's a bit more similar to what I'm looking for. And so I've made a tertiary colour by adding my primary, which is my yellow. I'll leave that in that well actually. Adding my primary and my secondary colour together to make my tertiary colour. It's like a kind of yellowy green. I actually think I need a bit more green. I love mixing paint. I could do it forever. Probably will have to, given that I'm taking so long to do this one painting. Okay, and now I'm going to add my black to make a shade. And again, I'm sticking these in different parts of the palette. When these, because these are sort of water-based but have a plasticity to them, when these paints dry in your palette, I mean, I wouldn't leave that much in there. I'd scoop it out and put it in the bin. But things like this, you can actually kind of scrape them out once they have dried off. So don't worry too much about kind of like, well, I would rinse it out to be honest, but don't worry too much if you do leave it and it kind of dries up a bit. Okay, now when I add black to stuff, God, I've already put too much on. I start with the tiniest amount. I'm probably going to need to add a bit more green. Because if you go too far with black, it's such an overpowering colour. And black, by the way, is pretty much all the colours. I'll show you in a minute if I add
all of the primary colours together, you don't always just get you don't always just get brown, which I think is what a lot of people think. You get kind of like a dirt colour. So when we're teaching colour theory and getting the students to mix up their own palettes, we encourage them not to use the black. We encourage them to create their own dark shade by mixing all of the primaries together. So in a minute, I reckon we should do that and see what it looks like. But of course, once you go too far with your colour, adding black to it, you can't kind of pull it back as easily. Okay, so I've got a shade there that's actually greener than it looks on the camera, but I am going to add a bit of green, although I like that with that. Let's have a look. We were doing colour matching earlier on this, although it'd be hard to see on here. If I put it there, oh, that's pretty close. Well, I've impressed myself there. Keep doing that, don't I, guys? I'm like, oh yeah, let's change the colour. I'll do something different, and then I get it spot on. I'll add a bit more green though, I think, just to make it that bit greenier. Oh, I keep getting the virgin ones. I'm not going to open up any that I don't need to. My studio is full of these paints. Let's put this over here. Okay. So if I add in green, and these dark colours will, in fact, I'm going to swap over and instead put that into there, because these dark colours will really, I describe it as they eat up the paint. So if I'm adding a pigment, a hue, to this dark shade, it kind of like overpowers it quite a lot. So you just need to be adding really small bits of the shade instead. Cool, I'm happy with that. It's not actually as good as the one I just had. Yeah, that's a bit more greeny. I don't know if you guys can see that on here. I think I'm going to go back to this original colour, add a bit of that into there. There we go. Yeah, that's somewhere in between the green that I mixed that I really love and the green that was... oh yeah, spot on. There we go. All right, so I can... If I had put layers and layers, which I would encourage you to do with this kit, I end up putting probably about 2 or 3 coats of my colour onto an area to cover over everything, like my pencil marks, and to make sure it's super solid in colour. But I won't have a lot of time to do that tonight, so I think I'll just go ahead and paint over the top of this. And I'm using my thin brush, and what I'm going to do is actually put like... have nearly nothing on it. So my technique for doing that is I kind of put it on the palette and twist the brush, and it removes, you can see that, oh, I'm watching it from above here, it removes all of the residual paint and just leaves me with like a nice little bit. And I like to always kind of like take a bit of paint, do my design, and then go back to it multiple times, rather than trying to load the brush up with loads of paint and expect it to kind of like filter down onto the canvas as I need it, because paintbrushes aren't pens, so it doesn't work in the same way. If I was to paint my lines now, you can see, let me just put this down so it's easier. You can see that I can get a relatively thin line, and if I removed some more paint I could get even less. I can do a bit of that. I kind of like flatten them out into a peak as well, and then I can do that. Whereas if I had loads of paint on it, it's going to do this, and it's not as effective. So you can use that to kind of decide how big your marks are going to be, but you can see that even if I wanted a nice bold thick line, there's like kind of like globules of paint either side. It's a real challenge to paint like that, and it will take a long time to dry. You might like the look of that, but for me, I prefer my lines to be really clear. So instead what I'll do is I'll take a lot of paint off and just leave a little bit on, and then only put on what I need and go back to it and layer it up if I have to. Right, let's put that down there, because trying to paint close to the camera is just not a great idea. Okay, so I can see where my original design was, thanks to the carbon copy paper marking the canvas for me. And actually I painted over some of those gaps there, so I'm actually just going to paint them in as if they were green. I like that. Yep, yep, yep. Actually, it's painting on quite good. I was wondering whether I should do some more coats. But given that my design that I want to achieve is actually dark. Oh, and this bit here is actually supposed to be dark green. I've just gone and painted over the whole thing. I love it. Whenever I'm doing these lives, I often like kind of chatter away and don't pay as much attention. But I think, again, that's testament to creating stuff that is, you know, can be a little bit different every time. So like here, you can see how that's looking a little bit different already with these lines coming in. And if I reference my design, which is here, I can see that these stems are going to be colour. Just remove a bit of that. And there. And sometimes I'll actually like use the white of the canvas to kind of add, you know, I might paint really thin, like water the paints down a bit, or just do a little dry brushiness to it to use some of the whiteness of the canvas to kind of come through the translucent paints and change the colour a bit as well. And that's sort of going on here, where like the paint that's underneath is mixing with the paint on top and creating like a third green, which I kind of don't mind. I really like my paint to be textured as well, because it always makes me feel like I'm that bit more professional. So I kind of like to leave some stripes and some streaks in it. Now these kits, they're great for you to have a bit of fun with and do some painting at home. Loads of people have bought these to use in the run up to Christmas and like chill out during lockdown, or, you know, when we're all not going to the pub and stuff. Doing this at a really weird angle, but once you've finished it, you can actually give these things as really cute presents. So like something like this, if you just sign the back of it, write a little note, and give it to someone to kind of, you could buy one of those little easels off of eBay, the tiny ones, and present this to someone as a cute gift. And it's just so special to have like a handmade design, isn't it? A hand painted piece of artwork. I'm not going to tell anyone that it was my design in the first place, and I don't think you should either. We should all just sort of, you know, have a load of these out there, and we can all sign them and make them our own. I don't mind. Not bothered at all. But for, you know, only a tiny bit more than, say, like a good bottle of wine, the cost of a good bottle of wine. Not even really, because someone's very expensive. I'm thinking like a tenner or whatever. You know, you've had a bit of fun making a design, relaxing in an evening, doing some painting, and also someone else gets to have a really cool present that you did for them. I just think that's really cool. Okay. So you can see here, I'm pushing quite hard at the very end, but starting off really light so that my line is small, and then has that, I'm using the paintbrush in its kind of interesting shape to make those motifs on there. All right, I might just get this one finished. My leaves, I'm nearly done with my green, and I could go over this afterwards, but again, I kind of like the brushiness. And as long as you're covering over your carbon pencil lines. Now, I love the thought of people sort of mixing it up afterwards as well. So doing whatever you think might be an interesting edit to the design. I'm so for that, and I love to see it. So I was just doing this and I was thinking, well, what would I want to do if like I had to go over some of those pencil edges, carbony edges? What might I do? You could get a bright colour and go around it, a bit like I did here. I've got this marked out as a kind of orange border, but I think that came about, this is the original painting actually, I think that kind of came about because I did this first one and then I decided I wanted orange, so I painted around it and it kind of became this brown colour, which I really liked. So feel free to grab the paintbrush and kind of like do strange and interesting things around those edges. I might try a bit of that now actually. What could we go with? Do I want to do it in... I might might do it in orange, you know. Should we mix up a bit of orange and do a big old orange border around all our leaves? Makes 0 sense, but will look so cool. Here we go. If I want to mix an orange, I'm going to have to open up this one. I'm going to move on to the warmer colours now. It's kind of good, actually, maybe to be doing all the cool colours in one go and then all the warm ones in the next one. Okay, so I've got my primary in there. I've got my red and my yellow, which together is going to make a bright, bright orange. It's a lovely sound. And I'm going to need my thin paintbrush again, so I'm just rinsing this out. Let's get a bit of tissue. All right. So let's go for an orange. Let's see. I'm going to add little bits of red to the yellow and see how quickly it turns. Look at that. That's already like, I needed very little. And I think I mentioned that in the intro as well. Like, just use small amounts and build up. You can always mix more. What you don't want to do is squeeze all of the paints out into the tubs and then just be like, I can't get these back in the tube. So I've got a nice yellow there, or orange. Now I'm just going to paint that around the edge and see what happens. Kind of feel like I want it a bit more yellow though. Do I? Mm-hmm. There we go. Yep, and I might even add in a bit of this white. Love that sound. Oh yeah, I've made a really pale one there now. Do I like that? Yeah, I think I'm going to go for that. So that's my technique. I always do that. I kind of twist the paintbrush to get all the paint off, and then I'll just dip in the end. So, deciding I want to kind of cover over some of these carbon bits and do some weird things, I'm just going to paint around the outside with this colour. And I mean, I could have done the background first. I might try that on the other side. But I just like the unusualness of this. I know a lot of artists who do a bit of that. They'll just paint around everything. And it can look really cool. I like that. It's kind of graphic and unexpected. Oops. And it can do, this is what can be known as a spot colour. So it's something that's drawing your attention to a part of the subject. So now that I've drawn around that, your eye's going to be quite a bit interested in what's going on over here because it's unusual and it's not happening in the rest of the piece. And also, orange and green are quite close to being complementary colours, given that they're opposite each other on the colour wheel. Green is blue and yellow, orange is red and yellow. They're not too similar. You've got the yellow, solid yellow is in between them, so that means that they're going to have their colour personalities really highlighted in that contrast. That is to say that wrapping something green in an orange, you're going to really notice how green the green is because the orange is so very different from it, which I think is really cool. So you can use these contrasting complementary colours. I always think it's weird that they're called complementary because when something complements you, it makes you think that they think the same as you, which is good, but complementary colours are kind of designed to be completely opposite to one another. It sounds much more, the fact that they're contrasting makes them sound like they're in conflict, whereas complementary sounds like you're really getting on with something. But here we go. So I've got a nice bold orange around the outside of that. Now, this is going to stay wet for a while, but I'm going to have a go at now mixing. I'm just going to do that 1/2, and then I'm going to maybe mix in. Let's see if the light's good enough here. There we go. And now I think I'm going to mix up my paint and paint all of the additional bits and just leave that halo on that one side. So if I want to do a pink, let's see, I've got my red and white. So pink being a secondary colour. Let's move this over here. Spotting shadows. I think I'm the shadow. Look. Pink being a secondary, well, it's not actually a secondary colour. Pink is a tint of red often, isn't it? Because you start with the red. Oh, look at that lovely pinkness of that. You start with the red and then you add white. So you start with your hue, which is red, add white, which is 0 colour, and you create a tint of red, which is the pink. I'm going to add a bit of water to that to loosen it up a bit. And in fact, I'm going to mix a bit more because I know that's going to go really quick. Look how much I'm wrecking my white. I always do this. I do this with my furniture as well. I have no kind of... I was going to say no morals when it comes to mixing my paint. That's not quite the right word. But I have, you know, there's no best practice. I literally am like, chuck a bit of this in. And all my paints will have like a spoonful, you know, spoon shape of a different colour in it. But I just kind of feel like that's quite an organic way of, you know, generating your colours and things. All right, so I've got my nice pink there. I love that. That's, I mean, look, you can tell I love it. Look at my nails. It's pretty similar. Okay. I'm going to keep an eye on the time. I started at 10 past, so I've got about 10 minutes left, I reckon. So now I'm going to put it down because I can't paint like that. Oh, I think I'm still going to leave. You know how I've done like a halo around the whole thing of white? And I did it there because it just, again, that contrast really picks out the detail, which I think is really cool. I'm still going to do that, I think, with this. I might have to cover over that carbon there, carbon marks. But I think I am going to still... Oh, no. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. You can see me making it up. I'm just going to kind of brush it on really roughly. Oh, this is one of those ones I'll show on Instagram later and everyone will be like, you haven't finished it. I'll be like, no, that is it, finished. I'm just going to kind of roughly chuck it on and use like the brush to do these sort of chiseled marks like that. Getting a bit of swipe action going on. I quite like that. Oh, this reminds me of a painting I did ages ago that I sold to a lady in Bristol, and I went up and hand delivered it to her because my friend and I went on a little trip to Bristol to deliver it, me and Heidi. But I did a painting in it was based on some photographs I took in California of these big luscious plants. And I did a bit of this. It was really unfinished and it looks so cool. Okay, I really like that. It's not identical to what I've got going on here, but I like that. I'm going to try something on the other side. Maybe I'm going to outline. See how I'm totally not doing what I did in the other tutorial and with the original. It's different, but I kind of like it. So I think I'll outline the other side in a different colour. Timing, got about 7 minutes. What colour shall I do there? Let's see. I think, I don't want to go, I was thinking I'd go blue, but actually that's going to be too much of a contrast to the orange because they really are complementary colours. Blue, and also there's a lot of blue going on down the bottom in a bit as well. So instead what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to mix a brighter orange. So it'll be in the same family as what we've got going on here, but it will have a little bit of its own personality as well. And I think that's going to be a good difference while still being a little bit similar too. Okay. So once again, I've put too much paint in. I'm going to start with my blue. Start with my yellow and add the red. This time I'll go for a really deep one, so put a bit more red in. I'm not going to mix any white in with it either, so I'll keep it nice and bold and bright, this colour, really clean. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. So now I'm going to go round. I'm going to flip it around so I can do it like this. Go round. I've made that quite big actually. Get those outlines. It's sort of like what happens when it interacts with the green as well, because it kind of makes a sort of brown layer as well. Oh yeah, I'm loving this. It's weird. And this is me covering over some of that carbon in an interesting and alternative way to how I normally do it. Oh yeah, I quite like that. Let's go around this way. Not going to go in those gaps because I want them to stay white, and I know if I go in there with my orange it's going to disappear. Cool. Oh, this is so strange. I love it. And you can hear by the way I talk about this practice, right? I'm making it up a lot of the time. Don't be mistaken in thinking that I know loads and loads and it means, well, okay, I'm talking about colour theory a lot, so I do know a bit. But the point is, you kind of get to know this stuff by practicing and by testing out. So I might have put blue around it and then it would be all you would look at. And I would know that, and next time I wouldn't do it. So a lot of the time you have to try this stuff out and get it wrong in order to know how to do it the next time. And I feel pretty comfortable about that. So I'm always taking brave decisions and not worrying about the consequences. And most often it looks okay. Sometimes it doesn't, but actually that's kind of a nice learning moment as well. I'm just going to quickly finish. Let's see what the time is. Oh yeah, a couple more minutes, not much longer. I'm going to go over here. I'm just leaning in it at the moment. Here we go. And do my last little detail on the leaf before my live ends. So what do you guys think? It's coming along, isn't it? Have you enjoyed watching me do a bit of painting? These, it's been like lower energy than, which I like because I'm in a chill mood tonight. I did that big live for Turner Contemporary last night, and we'll be loading that up onto their YouTube and some tutorials onto my YouTube over the next week. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I'm liking the look of this. And so, oh, Amy says, oh, this is lovely. When you get a chance. Oh, okay. Yeah, I will, Amy. I haven't seen a DM from you. You might have to send it again. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think, if you have tried the kits yet. I know there's some people on tonight who have taken their first kit and this is their first trial of it. So Jodie, I'd love to see how you're doing with yours. If you do any painting tonight and you feel good about it, post it up on social media and tag me. I love to see them. I've got the hashtag Margate Girl makes, so that's the way of like collecting all the designs together that everyone does. So let me know, let me see how you're getting on. And just before I finish my live, I'm going to see if I can paint in a bit here. I might take that orange and do a bit of that actually. Let's see, let's get my big brush. We see what this is like. I'm going to get that paler colour. There we go. Oh, really like this kind of like swipey technique where I'm not actually putting a lot of paint on. And to make sure it looks intentional, I'll probably go over this with some pattern. Maybe I'll do my stripes that side so that it really shows that my intention was to like leave it looking like this. Because a lot of the time people go, oh, couldn't you have finished it though? And I'm like, no, that's what it's supposed to look like. I promise. Here we go. Doing a little bit of that. And if you like the look of this painting, or any of the ones that I was showing at the start of the live, and you would like to, here we go, I've got that one as well. That's one of the designs. In fact, I've got the finished ones here I can show you. They come out looking like this, or they come out looking like this. Although you can do a much bluer sky than the one I did. I was kind of enjoying purple that time. If you like the look of these and want to do your own one, they're still available on margategirl.com. I think they're £16.50. And in the kit, in the super cute little box, you get all of this stuff. You get a palette, you get 3 really good paint brushes, you get your canvas, your little set of paints, your carbon paper, everything that you would need to create something like this that you could give as a nice little gift to someone for Christmas, or you could even just keep for yourself and as a bit of encouragement and reward for all your creativity and bright ideas. And like I said, any that you get done, I love to see them, so definitely share it on social media and tag me in it. I love all of that. And at some point over Christmas, when I finally get a minute, because we have been working non-stop for the last probably 2 months, it's been probably the most insane time of my entire life. When we're all done for Christmas, I'm going to be going back over those hashtag tags and like starting to collate a little collection of all the work that everyone's done this year. I'm hopefully going to be doing some kits next year as well. I'm putting together the subscription offering, and every day I'm like, do I do it? Because it's just so much work and so much time. But I think we're definitely going to do one, and it'll be really exciting to introduce you guys to all of the new crafts that we're going to do next year. One every month, just like we've done this year. It's been insane. Might try and squeeze a bit of blue in, but I'm going to do that in my own time. I'm going to take a picture afterwards and show you guys. Thanks for joining in. I hope you like the look of this one so far, and let me know how you've been getting on. And on Sunday, I'm going to be using my patchwork kit and doing a live at midday. And then I think next Friday, I'm going to be using my stamping kit as well. So if you like the sound of any of those and you want to do a little bit of crafting and creating along with me, jump into the margategirl.com site and get yourself a kit. It'd be so cool to get some more people doing these, and while I'm doing it, I can answer any questions that you guys have as you're going as well. All right, Lucy hasn't used her kit yet, but can't wait to give it a go this weekend. Oh, brilliant, Lucy. I hope you feel a bit more encouraged having seen my design that I've done. And look how different they are, right? Oh, actually, those colours are pretty similar, but it's a different style, isn't it? Like, in fact, I might even just try quickly to paint the stripes I was talking about. But, you know, you can really create very different looking designs. Here we go, I'm mixing up a quick blue. And I love the idea of people making it their own. So just go for it. Have you got some favourite colours you like to use? Because not everyone loves pink and green. I know I do, but it's always super exciting to see people coming up with their own palettes as well. And I've talked a little bit on this live. Don't worry if you've missed it, because I'll save it to the Margate Girl lives. But the colour theory that I've talked about in this session, that should give you a bit of an idea about how you can mix up some more colours than just using the ones from this kit. You can see all the different shades that I'm managing to get. So the same goes for you guys. You can mix up as many as you like, and should feel encouraged to do a bit of that. Now here we go, I'm going to paint blue across that. Oh, am I going to regret this? I don't know. Again, just testament to me making my own mind up as I go all the time. Here we go, a little bit more water just to loosen it up a bit. And now I'm going to paint across the top here and do my little stripe that I've got on the design. And I like how this is going to sort of authenticate my crazy painting, because that shows that I've done it on purpose. Love a bit of that. Pattern solves so many problems for me. Like, I use it to cover up damage. I use it to justify, you know, crazy decisions like messy paint. Nice, I like that. Oh yeah, and I do this as well. I go like, that's what the whole thing's going to look like. Totally changes the look as well, doesn't it? So I'm going to keep that white halo around the edge. I've got to make sure my stripes are straight. I wouldn't have to. I like it when things are a bit wonky as well, because it shows a lot of personality. It's kind of like a person did this, you know? It wasn't just a computer-aided creation. Someone actually made this with their hands, and it wasn't straight, and it wasn't completely filled in and the lines wobbled. Like, I think that's just really honest and has a lot of integrity, those kind of things. Okay, cool. All right, I really will be done now. It's funny because it's like they're letting us go on a lot longer. Either that or my clock is wrong. Yes, look at this. All right. Yes, I like that. Oh yeah, I really do, actually. So that deeper colour being put on top has made the white jump out, and now you can really see the plant standing out. I think that's really cool. So there we go. This is growing. I'm going to sit and finish this now and post it up online later. You can see how different they are. This was my original design, so it's really close to that. And I like to use pattern and dots and things like that as shadow and shade, you know, blocks of colour there. I think it's really cool. So feel free to kind of freestyle some more patterns and dots on yours as well. That's kind of a very Zoe thing to do, I think, put polka dots in places and stripes in places. But see what you can come up with and playing around with the kit yourselves. Don't forget to show me because I love it. And otherwise, everybody, have a really good evening. I'll catch you again on Sunday at midday. I'm going to be doing my patchwork kit live. And then the same time, in 1 week's time, on Friday night, I'm going to be doing my souvenir seaside stamping kit, which is like such a bumper kit, and I think I'm going to use it to decorate a jumper I've got. So check out in the shop, have a look at the different kits that are available, and have a look on the Instagram for when the lives are going to be. And if you want to take part and decorate some of your clothing, or paint up a little present or something like that, or learn how to patchwork and make your own quilt maybe, then jump into the shop and grab a pack so I can send it out to you this week. All right, see you later, guys.